What's going on, everyone? So reports have came out that the Detroit Pistons may not extend Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duran. Both guys I would love to see on the Lakers. Jaden Ivey, he continues to deal with injury issues. He's one of those guys that, kind of begs the question of, like, will he ever be able to get right? Like, he's finally coming back from, injury, gets injured again. We'll touch on that here in a moment. But he's a guy that, at least projects to be a quality two-way guard in this league, a guy that can slot in at either guard position, a guy that, a couple seasons ago is looking like, hey, man, this guy might be a star in the making potentially. Jalen Duran is one of those guys that, talking about centers, ideal slotted alongside Luka Doncic. Him and Cade Cunningham were actually the best two-man game in all of basketball last season. Imagine him and Luka Doncic, rim protector, floor runner, right, rebounder, kind of that guy that you'd want, in the middle, tough, physical, play on the inside. I'd love to get Jalen Duran. I want to see what happens with DeAndre Ayton. Right, but Jalen Duran could be kind of that insurance if DeAndre Ayton doesn't work out or if he departs, say, in the offseason, which I don't think he will. If he works out with the Lakers, I think he sticks around with the Lakers. It's the best situation for him. And if I'm being honest, I'd rather have Ayton than Jalen Duran, right? Because I just think Ayton, he's better offensively. And when he's bought in defensively, he's just the better overall two-way guy. But Lakers were interested in Jalen Duran when they traded for Luka. Remember, Luka kind of threw out a couple names that, the Lakers tried and took that package that ultimately they did the trade for Mark Williams that got rescinded, but they took that same package and tried to get Jalen Duran, Walker Kessler, several other guys. So maybe if things don't really work out for the Pistons and he hits, restricted free agency, same thing with Jaden Ivey, maybe the Lakers can work something out, pull off some trade. Maybe the Detroit Pistons would be more willing to make that type of trade, make that type of move. Realistically, if I'm being honest, and I'm going to read the report here in a moment, I don't know if the Lakers would be able to get both, but I definitely could see one of them, particularly Jaden Ivey. I really think the Detroit Pistons are going to move off of Jaden Ivey, whether they trade him this season or they, sign and trade him in the offseason, which you might be able to get him pretty cheap because he has the injury concerns. So if I'm the Lakers, I would be cautious on what I give up for him. But if he's one of those guys that if you can get him to work out, slots in just seamlessly next to a Luka Doncic. And we've seen Luka have success slotting alongside guys that can self-create and create for others and do all those other things. And we'll go over that here in a moment. I want to read the report first, and then we'll kind of elaborate more. But diving into what was said, this is per Mark Stein in the Stein line. The Detroit Pistons are not expected to sign Jalen Duran and Jaden Ivey to extensions per the Stein line. Sources say neither first-round pick for the Pistons has generated much momentum on a new deal with Detroit at this point in the process. The sudden announcement this week that Ivey needed a surgical procedure to alleviate discomfort in the right knee isn't expected to require a significant recovery period, but it certainly doesn't make negotiations any easier for the Pistons, who might understandably elect to be cautious. Ivey's camp nonetheless anticipates a promising market next summer, even in the wake of last season's left tibia fracture. So again, guy that has been dealing with some injuries, right? A guy that, when he's healthy, is an excellent player. But again, it's the health side of things. Can he stay healthy? And now he's dealing with another injury that, yes, is not expected to miss, huge time. But it's like, you just got off the injury, come back. Everyone's excited to see what you look like. There's already talks or reports about Indiana potentially trading you, and now you're hurt again. Right? But again, that could benefit the Lakers, who now have revamped and upgraded their medical team, have done the things necessary to maybe take a risk on a guy like a Jaden Ivey, if you can get him cheap enough. If they want, multiple first and Austin Reeves and all this stuff, personally, I wouldn't. Or at least I'd want to see him stay healthy. If he comes back and he's healthy and he's just lighting up the league, then sure, right? You look at his last stint, 2024-2025 season, he averaged just under 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists on 46% shooting. He's 23 years old. He'll be 24 in February, right? This is a guy that, 6'4", 6'5" guard, can play either guard position, guy that can make plays, right? Create for himself, create for others, which historically has done well alongside Luka Doncic. If you get a guy like Jaden Ivey and he works out, that could even, give you some, lenience in potentially trading Austin Reeves, especially if he wants too much money. Or let's say Austin Reeves isn't great in the playoffs again. Right? Let's say, again, 2 straight seasons, at least. I mean, you can argue he's had as many bad playoff series as he has good at this point. Right? And the last few playoff series in particular have not been good for Austin Reeves. So if he, once again, is not great in the playoffs, do the Lakers go like, do we really want to pay this guy $40 million, or $35 million or whatever? Or if we can get a Jaden Ivey and pay him, $18 million on a deal because he's getting, there's concerns about him or whatever. In worst case, we can have him as a 6th man and have him run the offense and then kind of fill out the rest of the guys. And now we have that extra $17 million or whatever a year that we could go and use for other pieces or whatever, right? Like it could potentially raise the question, or you could run, all 3, right? Luka, you're seeing right now with like Gabe Vincent, Austin Reeves, and we'll see how that looks and how that really works. But the idea is Luka Doncic being 6'7", 6'8" in size, he can slot into either forward position on defense. So you can have him defend either of those positions, have Jaden Ivey and Austin Reeves kind of as your defensive backcourt, and then Luka Doncic defending out on the perimeter. Right. And then on offense, Luka gets to be Luka. You have Jaden Ivey and Austin Reeves. You kind of, work it however you need to work it in order to make that happen. Right. And again, Jaden Ivey, he's a guy that if he can get healthy, if he can get right, you saw in the 2024-2025 season, he only played 30 games. The first 2 seasons in the league, he played 74 and 77. If he can get back to that, beautiful. Right. Like that's a guy that can really do something. And for his career, he's averaging 16.1 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and half a block per game. Right? His rookie season, he averaged 16.3 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal, and half a block. Then year 2, 15.4 points, 4 assists, 3.5 rebounds, a steal, and half a block. And then, like I said, 2024-2025 season, just under 18 points, 17.6, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and that was in 29 minutes of action. 3-point shooting, he's a career 35% 3-point shooter, but his last season with Detroit on 5.1 attempts. He's averaging 4.8 for his career, but on 5.1 attempts, which is the most attempts for his career, he shot 41% from 3-point range. So again, if you can get that version of Jaden Ivey, that was, 46% from the field overall, 14 attempts, shot 41% from 3-point range on 5 attempts, 8.6 attempts, he shot 49%. So basically, if you can get that version of Jaden Ivey, and he's giving you 70 games a season, sign me up, right? Like the problem is like we don't know that. So good thing is the Lakers can kind of see when he gets back, evaluate him, kind of get an idea on him. Then you can make kind of an educated decision around the trade deadline if you wanted to, or wait, go into the offseason. Lakers would have a bunch of money. Lakers would have a bunch of assets and stuff. Right? Obviously, if they can go get a big fish like a Giannis or something, they're probably going to do it, whether we want them to or not. But the other option would be, hey, we have 3 firsts. Can we go get 3 different guys? Can we get a Jaden Ivey? And, there was talks about Benedict Mathurin, and Indiana might not sign it. Can you go get a Jaden Ivey, a Benedict Mathurin, go get these other pieces, maybe kind of have that depth and versatility out there alongside Luka Doncic. Maybe look to, like I said, trade Osprey, especially if you can get an Ivy and a Mathurin or whatever. Like I said, you could play those guys because Luka can slot in and play the 4 or the 3 for you on defense, right? Jalen Duran, touch on him real quick. Again, I would love to have him. He's 21 years old. He just turned 21, by the way. Or no, sorry, he'll be 22 in November. I'm sorry. November. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. We're in October, right? So he'll be 22 years old, which again is still incredibly young. You talk about a guy 6'10", 6'11", 250 pounds, a guy that can bang on the inside, physical, not shy of contact. A guy that is basically a 12 and 11 guy. Give you a steal, 1.1 blocks. You look at last season. Right, 78 games played, right? The fewest games he's ever played in a season was 61. So, it's good. Obviously, you want him to play more than 61, but, at least he's playing, 60-plus games. That was his worst season, right? Last season, he played 78 games, 26 minutes per game, 7 field goal attempts per game, shot 69.2% from the field. 3-point shooting, not a 3-point shooter. He's not taking any threes. So 2-point range, 69.2%, EFG of 69.2%. Free throw shooting, it's always been a struggle for him. He is 69.1% for his career. He did have in 2023, 2024, he shot 79% on 3 attempts per game. If he can get back to that, that'd be amazing. But last year, he was 67% on 3.1 attempts. Rebounds, 10.3 rebounds, including 3.6 offensive rebounds. He's a 3.4 offensive rebound per game guy. So a guy that gets you second chance opportunities. 2.7 assists, 0.7 steals, 1.1 blocks, and 12 points per game. Numbers are hard, right? So again, a guy that can basically is walking double-double. Like I said, him and Cade Cunningham were the best two-man game in all of basketball. That pick and roll between those two. There's a lot of promise there. I don't think that they'll let him go. I don't. I think that they're just kind of being optimistic, right? Like they go in, he'll be a restricted free agent. And then kind of make their decisions accordingly. How much does he want? How does he play? Right? What does the market look like? Because again, they'd have control over it, so they can always pay him. We saw several guys this past season kind of go through the same things, and some of those guys ended up like Josh Giddey eventually ended up getting paid. Kind of see that with Jalen Duran. So Jalen Duran is not the guy that I would necessarily expect the Lakers to land. Jaden Ivey, he's the guy that I would look to potentially try to bring in. And look, if it was me, this is just me. If we could get Jaden Ivey, right? And this is where the Mick came from, is I would look to then do the proposed trade if possible, right? Rumors isn't necessarily true, or truth. But if, let's say, Lakers could go and get Jaden Ivey, right? I would look to turn Austin Reeves into Jaden McDaniels if I could, right? Because now you have Luka Doncic, Jaden Ivey, which again, health concerns, and you could argue Austin Reeves' availability, right, is the best ability. But if Jaden Ivey can stay healthy and get right, and then you add in a Jaden McDaniels with a DeAndre Ayton, all you need to do is solve that 4 spot. That's tough to say no to, because that athleticism, that defense, that versatility that you'd have out there on the perimeter alongside Luka Doncic, go get another kind of, sizable forward, like two-way wing. Be tough to say no to that personally. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Else, why not? So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.